Professor Zenthar was one of the most esteemed instructors at the most prestigious war academy in the Andromeda Galaxy. With thousands of years of experience, this intelligent and wise being taught the brightest minds from across the galaxy the intricacies of war strategies and military tactics. However, the core of the knowledge he passed on to his students was rooted in that unforgettable war experience he had with humans. That day, the largest amphitheater in the academy was packed to capacity as students gathered to attend Professor Zenthar's lecture. The massive hall, inspired by the brilliant stars, reflected the sparkling view of the galaxy through its crystal dome. The students were from various races scattered across the galaxy. Some were tall, slender, and graceful, while others were large, muscular, and intimidating in their armor. Each one of them eagerly awaited what Professor Zenthar was about to share, their eyes hungry for knowledge. The amphitheater, equipped with high-tech interactive holographic panels, allowed for a detailed visualization of the finest points in war tactics. All attention was focused on the central podium. As Zenthar entered the amphitheater, a deep silence took hold of the room. Everyone was poised, ready to hang on to every word that would come from the wise professor's mouth. When Professor Zenthar took his place in the center of the room, hundreds of eyes were locked on him, their faces a mix of curiosity, admiration, and a hint of anxiety. They knew he was going to speak about his experience in the war with humans, but they had yet to grasp just how fierce that war had been. A soft signal chimed, indicating the lecture was about to begin, and in that moment, everyone held their breath in anticipation. Zenthar's tall, graceful silhouette carried a depth of wisdom greater than the darkest corners of the galaxy. He was much taller than most of the students, with a slender yet powerful frame. His smooth skin, a bright metallic color, reflected both his age and his experience. His eyes, almost translucent and reminiscent of a sky dusted with stardust, held the marks of wisdom and lived experiences spanning thousands of years. With long, flexible arms, he walked gracefully to the center of the amphitheater. His steps were silent yet determined, as if each step carried the weight to shift the positions of all the stars in the universe. The students' eyes were fixed on Zenthar. His imposing stance exuded not just physical grandeur, but also a mental authority. Zenthar paused for a moment, scanning the room, creating a deep silence as he made eye contact with each of his students. Then, with a slight motion of his long fingers, he activated the massive holographic map in front of him. The map came to life with a halo of bright light, revealing countless planets and stars across the universe. Zenthar elegantly raised his hand, guiding the map to focus on Earth. This seemingly ordinary blue planet might have appeared to many as one of the most insignificant corners of the universe at first glance. However, Zenthar's expression hardened with seriousness. He was about to show his students just how significant this planet was and how deceptive appearances could be. He gazed at the class, his expression clearly conveying the immense importance of the lesson he was about to teach. In a voice that echoed through the silence, Zenthar began his lecture, revealing that Earth held a story much larger than anyone had anticipated. Humans, he began, glancing over each of his students individually, might seem weak, short-lived, and technologically primitive. Their slender, delicate bodies may appear as no threat compared to the powerful species found elsewhere in the galaxy. Their lifespan is but a fleeting sparkle against the backdrop of the universe's infinity. However, his voice deepened and his expression became serious. I will show you how misleading these first impressions can be. Zenthar moved his hand again, bringing up various war scenarios on the map depicting Earth. Every attack against them, he continued, has always resulted in a much greater cost than we anticipated. The seemingly fragile appearance of humans is, in fact, one of their greatest strengths. It deceives their enemies, luring them into a false sense of vulnerability. Yet when things get serious, the inhabitants of this small blue planet confront their foes with unparalleled resolve and bravery. He took a step closer to his students, his tone growing even more intense. "Now," he said, with a deep determination in his eyes, "I will show you how the people of this planet, humans, have turned into legends on the battlefield, how unique they are, and why underestimating them is a grave mistake. The warrior spirit they possess emerges in unexpected moments and terrifies their enemies. For them, war is not just a struggle for survival, but a stage on which they prove who they are and what they believe in." The students were all ears, hanging on every word that came from Professor Zenthar's mouth. A silence fell over the room, broken only by the low-frequency hum of the holographic map. With a motion from Zenthar, the massive hologram sprang to life, displaying scenes of great battles erupting across various regions of Earth. Like a shadow play, the silhouettes of armies clashing on battlefields echoed in the students' eyes. The lights on the map flickered, bringing to life the dusty pages of history with scenes of battles, conflicts, and major strategic maneuvers. Roman legions, medieval knights, modern war machines. Each scene followed the last, representing a different facet of humanity's war-torn history. The students delved into the depth of each scene, feeling the horror and heroism behind these conflicts. However, they knew that Professor Zenthar's account went beyond these images. Noticing the curiosity and excitement on his students' faces, Zenthar's eyes narrowed slightly and his voice grew even deeper. "Yes," he said slowly, "human history is filled with wars. However, these ordinary conflicts only scratch the surface of what I am about to explain. What truly reveals the fighting spirit of humans, making them one of the galaxy's most resilient species, lies beyond these images. This species is reborn in every challenge and grows stronger after each defeat. Now we will go beyond the ordinary battles, and I will explain why humans are such exceptional warriors." Zenthar leaned slightly towards his students, his eyes shining with deep wisdom. "Humans," he said, his voice resonating through the room, "possess an inherent ability to adapt. Their greatest strength lies in their capacity to quickly adjust to each new situation they face. Even in the early clashes of a battle, they have the ability to analyze their enemy's tactics and reshape their strategies accordingly. This is why they have overturned the plans of galactic empires repeatedly. Those who underestimate them have paid dearly for this fatal misconception." Zenthar, delving into the depths of memory, recalled the time when alien forces attempted to conquer Earth. He took a deep breath and continued. "Back then, I was a young officer with very little knowledge about war. However, I was directly involved in that major campaign against humanity. At first, we believed that our superior technology would easily defeat them. But even within the first hours of the conflict, I saw how quickly they adapted. Suddenly, our seemingly perfect strategies began to unravel. The humans were resisting our attacks and countering with their own methods. They responded to every move we made and thwarted every trap we set." Zenthar paused for a moment, observing the attentive expressions on his students' faces. "This species," he added, "learns from defeat, turning pain into a source of strength. That day, I learned that humanity's greatest power lies not just in their weapons, but in their minds and hearts. They fight not just to survive, but for victory, and that makes them one of the most dangerous adversaries in the universe. On the holographic screen, a scene emerged where massive alien ships darkened the sky. These ships, with their technological superiority and immense firepower, threatened Earth. Yet, in one corner of the screen, a small and humble human army was steadfastly taking up defensive positions. This army was few in number and inadequately equipped, but what they possessed was a strategy forged with determination and intelligence that their enemies could never comprehend. As the battlefield lit up with explosions and laser fire, the seemingly chaotic movements of the humans resembled a well-planned game of chess. Each of their moves was part of a strategy that anticipated the alien ship's actions. The troops confused the enemy with rapid maneuvers between trenches, efficiently using their limited ammunition to avoid heavy losses. At unexpected moments, humans responded with sudden and creative tactics. A group of soldiers cleverly turned simple electronic devices into traps, leading the enemy in the wrong directions, while another group used environmental elements to damage the alien ships. The screen vividly displayed the details of how humans diverted riverbeds to turn landing sites into swamps or filled abandoned buildings with explosives to ambush the enemy. Despite the aliens' superior technology and numerical advantage, humans did not retreat. Even in what seemed like the end, they developed new tactics, managing to change the course of the battle with their creativity in the most challenging situations. Their retreats were even a part of a deliberate trap strategy, drawing the enemy to a specific point and cornering them with an unexpected attack. This was not ordinary resistance. It was a survival struggle adorned with intelligence and faith. Humans are beings with deep and complex emotions, Zenthar began, his eyes scanning his students. These emotions make them much more than just ordinary warriors. Anger is not just a defensive mechanism, but also a source of internal power. In the most intense moments of battle, I have seen how a human, filled with rage, attacks their enemies with immense determination. This anger makes them appear invincible, allowing them to ruthlessly exploit their enemies' mistakes. Zenthar took another step and stood before the hologram as if reliving that moment. But anger is just the beginning. Fear doesn't stop them even when they're cornered. Rather, it makes them even more dangerous. Fear makes humans unpredictable and pushes them to make unexpected moves. In the toughest moments of battle, even when they're face-to-face with death, they use their fears to surprise their enemies, making unexpected maneuvers at unexpected times. Zenthar took a deep breath, his tone growing more serious. And then there's love, the greatest motivation for humans. A person can achieve seemingly impossible things to protect their loved ones. Love makes them appear vulnerable. However, this emotion is what makes them the most dangerous on the battlefield. Ignoring a mother's fight to protect her child or a soldier's sacrifice for their comrades would be a grave mistake. Love empowers them and gives them inexhaustible resilience. Zenthar's voice was filled with deep meaning. Finally, there's loyalty. Humans fight for their beliefs and the loyalty they have for each other. This loyalty is the bond that keeps them together, allowing them to draw strength from one another even in the toughest times. This is the real power behind their ability to deceive their enemies, survive, and achieve victory. These emotions deeply influence their strategies and fighting abilities, making them unpredictable, yet also unstoppable. As Zenthar spoke, the students developed a new understanding of how humans could be such complex and powerful beings. Zenthar imparted the lessons he had learned from that battle. Defeating humans required more than just technological superiority. It required understanding their spirit and shaping strategies accordingly. At the end of the lesson, Zenthar told the students, "Remember, war is won not just with weapons, but with mind and spirit. Humans have shown us this. If you want to achieve victory over them, you must first understand what they stand for." When Zenthar finished speaking, a deep silence settled over the classroom. The students were deeply affected by the depth of human emotions and unexpected strengths described by their professor. They all understood that this lesson was much more than a routine training session. It demonstrated that war is not just a physical struggle, but also a mental and emotional one. Zenthar stood in the center of the classroom for a moment, looking at the faces of his students. He noticed the gleam of curiosity and deep thought in their eyes. "Remember," Zenthar said, adding the weight of a sage to his voice, "to underestimate humans would be your greatest mistake. Understanding them, respecting them, and taking them seriously will ensure your survival." When the end of class signal sounded, the students still hesitated to leave their seats. Zenthar's words continued to echo in their minds. As they slowly began to exit the classroom, whispers rose among them. This story, this lesson, had become an experience they were eager to share with their friends. As they stepped into the corridors, they began discussing the lesson at every corner of the academy. They talked about the unexpected power of humans and how a seemingly weak species could become a formidable threat on the battlefield. Each one considered what they would do if they encountered humans someday, re-evaluating their strategies. They grasped how the emotional complexity and warrior spirit of humans made them a dangerous opponent in the galactic arena. Throughout the academy, Zenthar's lesson resonated. The students had completely changed their perspective on humans. They no longer saw them as primitive beings, but as formidable warriors deserving of deep respect. By the end of the lesson, Zenthar's students knew that this knowledge would guide them in all their future battles. They would also spread Zenthar's wise lesson across the galaxy by sharing what they had learned with all their friends at the academy.